Y'all know what time it is. It's Queen Talk, not small talk. Oh my God. So before we get started, listen, we are going to have to sage. Okay. We're going to have to cleanse the spirit before we get into this video because, ooh, I ran to find this video on YouTube, this podcast on YouTube, and I edited it that way they don't copyright me so we can watch the whole thing because I keep saying it. The best thing that has ever happened is that these men are picking up a microphone and they are being honest. They're being dead honest about how they view marriage, how they view their relationship, how they view women. And it's no coincidence that I literally just covered a video talking about Christian men and men in the church. And he literally validated every single thing it is that I say, not only about men, but about men that are in the church and that are very, very involved with that type of life. So let's go on ahead and get into it. Also, I made this faster. Um, I did. I made this faster, so try to keep up. I think I made it to like 1.5 speed. And I just put on a little bit of makeup and threw on a different wig and put on some like cute little like ceramic flower earrings. So thank you for the compliments. Um so yeah, let's get into it. Honestly, I'm just gonna say trigger warning because the level of like pick me in this is going to, oh, it's gonna blow your mind. It really, really is going to blow your mind. So yeah, take a break if you need it because he said everything that I say about men. Like if you have not accepted male nature, if you have not accepted how men behave, if you have not accepted how men view women, you're going to have a hard time watching this video. You are. Um you're going to have a very hard time watching this video because they're raw, they're honest, they expose their whole story. And I'm actually grateful that they did. That way, y'all can pay attention more, understand when y'all are hearing people tell you, oh, yeah, we've been married for 20 years, we've been married for 30 years. I just started, yes. This is how it looks. This is how it looks when these people have been married 20, 30, 40 years. These marriages are dusty. These marriages are full of tolerance. These marriages are full of disrespect. You are having limerence over something that you don't know about when you are congratulating people for getting married for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And even when I went in the comments of these videos, the comments were just as delusional. Okay. There were a lot of women that were like, I hope this love never finds me. I hope that this never happens to me. But there were still a lot of women who were like, that's how a marriage is supposed to be. A marriage is supposed to be tough. A marriage is supposed to be hard. You are supposed to just overcome all of these things. And I don't agree with that. Exactly. I don't believe that marriage is natural. Um it's not a natural thing, and it was never a natural thing for common people. Marriage actually used to be a very sacred thing that only upper echelon people were allowed to have because they wanted to make sure that their bloodline was going to be strong enough where they would marry into another exceptional family, another upper echelon family. Once they took marriage and they allowed civilians to have marriage and for just the regular common people to have marriage, they sold it to them as love because they knew that they were not going to have enough money, enough, property assets and things like that to make it a thing as to when it came for money. And then they also needed a reason to fund capitalism. So they figure, let's push the nuclear family. Let's have a man with a woman under the same roof. Let's have them procreate so that way we can have more slaves to fund our multi-million, billion-dollar companies. And whenever you decide to play that game, that's what you're doing. Okay. So I'm shutting up. Let's get into this.
He has you recording this episode. We talked about other dates and all that, talked about doing a podcast at your church. And today we're recording it on March the 13th.
Right.
And today is significant. Why?
Because it is our 32nd anniversary.
Yes,
today.
32 years today.
32 years today. We walked down the aisle.
Even though he was an hour late.
He was an hour late?
He showed up.
Brad, you didn't come to the wedding late, did you?
But God.
No, we ain't gonna put God this. How you gonna show up at the wedding late?
I was conflicted.
Yeah.
You got to remember, she was 19. I just turned 21.
Right.
What's up, Lit Fam? This your boy, the Pterosaur.
Oh, sorry. I thought I cut the part before that.
You bringing that into it less than 24 hours prior. Why do you think that is?
You know, I think that how sometimes we're wired, even as young men, you're going to have what I call human moments.
Yeah.
Even the Bible says in Isaiah 40:30 that young men would utterly fall.
Right.
So let's just say I was fulfilling scripture.
Like, listen to how they're like joking. Like, listen to how they're just joking about like the fact that like, oh yeah, well, it says in the Bible, like men, you know, it's a part of the flesh and like they can't control themselves and hee ha ha. Like, this is just so hilarious.
Utterly, which means absolutely. Romans 3:23, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
You said you're going to take that scripture, get it tattooed on your chest, and live it, huh? And so, but you were assured, you were blessed assured that he was going to show up.
Well, before we got married, we dated in high school. And in high school, I knew that I was number one. But I knew when I met him, he told me, you know, you're my starter, but I got other ones on the bench.
You're my starter, but I got other ones on the bench. Like, and then he comes to the wedding an hour late. And they were very, very young. Like she said, she was 19 and he was 21. This is the reason why they want you to marry young. Because only someone as young as she was getting married would even think that this shit is okay. For the man that you're supposed to marry to come to the wedding an hour late. And then to also tell you that, you know, you're my starter, but I have other ones on the bench. It gets worse. I'm telling you. I told y'all going to have to take breaks. You're going to have to take a breather because it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
You know, and you know, what else would you tell me, baby?
That you're my point guard.
Yes, and that you love me.
But I like them.
Right. So I was in a relationship I was okay with that as long as I was first. And there's a reason for that. I want, you know, the women to know out there. I didn't know Jesus. I didn't, you know who I was. What'd you say, babe? I had no value?
You had no value. You had no worth. You did not know who you were.
He said you know.
She had no value. She had no worth. She did not know who she was. This is why they want to marry the young ones. This is why they want to constantly say, oh yeah, like, you know, this is why we don't go for older women. Because there's really nothing for a younger woman to offer to them. They can mold them. They can groom them. It's a lot easier for them to have a lot more control and dominance in the dynamic. When you're older, you already have you're already rooted in your own self-respect. You're already rooted in your own identity. So they would have to be competing against your self-identified person that you have created through years of experience, through years of you being on earth. It is harder for them to compete with that.
Your self-worth.
Right. I'm 17,
yeah,
you know, so I was a teenager, and I was preconditioned to think this way because my mother divorced my father for infidelity, and I'd always thought if you could just forgive him, our family would stay together. So that was not a deal breaker for me. As long as
another thing. As humans, I'm not even going to say as women, as humans, we always have this thing where we want to have the pendulum swing the other way. So because you were a product of divorce and because your mother divorced your father because of infidelity and how it impacted you, you just figure, well, as long as I don't divorce at all, it is not going to impact me. That's not how this works. This is why I always say, before you make a decision regarding men, you need to know male nature. I don't care what you do with the information I give you. If you want to still go get married after the info that I drop to you and that I give to you, cool. You still want to date men? Cool. You want to use men for their money? Cool. You want to be 4B and never fucking deal with them again? Cool. You need to know male nature, because when you decide, oh, I'm going to marry and not divorce, or, oh, I'm not going to marry and I'm going to make all these decisions because it's the opposite of the decision that I was exposed to, you're leaving out the whole understanding of male nature so that way you can make an informed decision, right? trauma response right there to even make a decision like that. Oh, well, the trauma that we had through, me undergoing a divorce and witnessing a divorce as a child, I don't want my kid to go through that. As if you sticking around in a marriage where you're not valued, where you're not loved, you're being disrespected, and setting that as an example for your children is going to be better.
I knew about it. Now he knows if I found out about it, we'd have a problem.
But if he told you in advance, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
So if he said, "Hey, listen, tomorrow I got this little shorty lined up. I'm gonna go run through and I'm gonna smash it. I'll see you the next day."
He would never say that.
It was usually after the fact.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a hiccup last night. Just heads up.
Yeah.
You know.
A hiccup.
How is it a heads up if you're telling her after the fact? It was usually after the fact, and they're just laughing about it. Like, look at how they are straight up laughing about it. And I'm supposed to take the church seriously. I'm supposed to be listening to these pastors. I'm supposed to be listening to what the person is saying from the pulpit when they're over here and all they do is they point fingers at people that are gay, people that are lesbian, people that don't follow, God's way, but yet they're over here laughing over infidelity and lying. This is why it's very hard for me to take religious people seriously, because they cherry pick scriptures out the Bible to fit whatever narrative they want to have fit. And then they make light of things that are very disrespectful. They make light of things that are very just rude, to overlook their behavior, to not have any accountability for their behavior.
You were saying after the fact? Right. As long as he confessed prior from you finding out, you said that's cool. That's okay.
In fact, before he married me, he's like, I don't know if I'll ever be faithful. And I said, that's okay. So I walked down the aisle knowing I was marrying his worst, meaning that if he were to do something, the worst would be him stepping out.
And then in your marriage, were y'all faced with it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How soon?
All from the gate.
Yeah.
I came from, my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women.
Wow.
So I have 6 brothers, and all of us, just kind of womanizers, if you will.
Yeah.
Exodus 20 verse 5 talks about how the sins of your forefathers will visit you. Well, I'm telling you, them demons visited me for real. And so, even my dad, who was in my life for 48 years until he transitioned, he always told me that would be a struggle, because that was his struggle.
Right.
And it was my brothers who are older than me struggle.
That's real.
And so that's the demon that we just had to fight.
Right.
So did he tell you it'll be a struggle, but tell you, son, you can overcome it? Did he try to tell you tools, or did he just say,
I've talked about it before, but epigenetics is a real thing. Okay. Oh, I have a super chat. Thank you, P. Do misandrous women hate men or male nature, or do they hate men because of male nature being red pill? I love women. I'm not a fan of female nature. Well, first of all, what are we talking about in regards to misandry? Because a lot of men tend to think that because you have a dislike for men, it means that you hate men. No. I think men are not used to having the mirror be put up to them with their behavior. So it feels like misandry, because their ego gets involved and their ego gets attacked whenever women say, hey, like, I don't want to date a man, or I don't want to marry a man, or I don't want to have children with a man. I don't really want anything to do with them. But then again, also, when men say that they love women, they like having sex with women. They don't like female nature. So you don't love women technically. You just love sleeping with women. Because at the end of the day, what red pill is even talking about, usually it's coming from the standpoint of, I didn't get everything that I wanted with a woman, and it's not fair to me. And I feel slighted because I didn't have everything work out in my favor, and I could act any type of way and it would be allowed. Men have the ability. We live in a man's world. Men are allowed to do whatever they want to do, and they don't really have to suffer any repercussions. And so they're not really used to having a mirror held up to them. So the thing about it is that it's not even misandry. It's really just understanding, oh, this is how men are, and then I will just make whatever decision I want. But men don't like it. Men hate every decision you make with them. If you decide that you want to deal with them for money, then they get mad at you because you accepted them for who they are, or you didn't accept them for who they are. When you accept them for who they are, and then you don't go after money, and you get burned from that, all of a sudden you should have chose better. You do for yourself, you make your own money, you take care of yourself, and all of a sudden, okay, well, they don't want an independent woman. Well, then if you don't have enough money where you take care of yourself, they don't want a broke woman. The goalpost is always moving to the point where it's like, y'all just don't like women. Women women know that men are never going to be the full package. It's going to be this or that. Money, money or attractiveness, money or, or good in bed. You never get the full package. You tend to not even get 50% of the package with men. Usually when women talk to other women, it's always, he's nice to me, but he's bald, but he's fat, but he's unattractive, or he's very attractive but has no money. He has no emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. Men are transactional too. Are you going to deal with a woman that you're not having sex with? That's transactional, because men think that women always want to have sex with them. Women don't always want to sleep with you all. Women don't always want to give it up to you all. It's transactional. It's a transaction. If you want to make her your wife, in most cases, you want a child. She has to give you a child. That's transactional. Her sleeping with you, that's transactional. Her cooking for you, that's transactional. Her cleaning for you, that's transactional. Men only think in terms of finances. But so you're going to deal with her when she's not cooking, she's not cleaning, she's not sleeping with you, she's not going to give you a child. No, you're not going to deal with her if she's not doing those things. So therefore, it's transactional for both parties. If it was only about finances, then ask a woman to do nothing. If all you care about is money, then say, okay, I don't want anything else. I don't want anything else from you.
This is just who we are. Men are men.
He said, that's who you are. Men are men.
Right.
And he said, but the one thing with you, he said, I'm hoping you don't spread your seed like I did with 10 kids, 6 women. He said, please get one woman and have all your children by her, which I've been able to pull that off. We have 5 adult children who we had 5 kids in 6 years, 11 months and 16 days.
Wow.
3 boys, 2 girls. And now we almost got 6 grandkids. Well, 5.5 right now.
Right.
So we're in that season now.
Yeah.
So you felt like you still honored your father's request by not spreading your seed amongst everybody.
That's right.
But you succumbed to the ideology that, hey, men just can't be faithful.
That part. You know, it's interesting. I was out.
Epigenetics. Fucking genetics. Whenever you talk to a man and a man is telling you like, oh yeah, like my father has multiple baby mamas, we come from like a broken family. All of that is in his father's DNA, which means that it's going to be in his DNA. Men are usually not going to do enough self-improvement. They're not going to do any internal work for them to try to undo this shit. So usually the man that you marry, his father, you're marrying his father. You are 100% marrying his father.
Shooting craps one night at this place, and illegal place. And so while I'm shooting dice, this young lady was with me. It wasn't her.
No.
And one of the gentlemen, he said, hey man, is your dad Alonzo still? I said, yeah. He said, I remember when he would come in the same room and he would have different females with him. And to me, that was a flex. I'm like, that's what's up. And then this older gentleman, he said, is your grandfather Lilburn still? I said,
wow.
It is. He said, I remember when he used to come in this same room and he used to have different women with him. When he made that comment, it wasn't cute. Now, when the gentleman who knew my dad, that was cute. But when the second gentleman said it about my grandfather, I was like, wait a minute. At the time, my son, who's 33, he was 3 at the time. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is going to go from Lilburn to Alonzo to Reggie and then Isaiah.
Exactly. Epigenetics. If a man is, in most cases, they're never going to try to break the cycle. Never, ever, ever.
Right.
And so when I left that night with the young lady, normally I would go upstairs and, do what you do. And I dropped her off and kept moving. I drove home scared that night because
really?
I was like, wait a minute, because I grew up in church. I was saved, but I wasn't delivered.
So how old were you during that time?
21, 22 years old.
So that was at the beginning of your marriage?
23, exactly, 23.
So a couple years in your marriage.
Yep.
And you were okay being out in public with women.
Right.
She was okay with it. But that moment, you had this Kairos moment where you was like, hold on.
Right. Exactly. Because I grew up in the pews. My dad pastored for almost 40 years. So I still had an awareness of God. And so, but that scared me that night. That did something to me.
So from a spiritual standpoint, you watched your father be unfaithful, live that life, preach the gospel, probably was dynamic with it, was amazing.
Sure.
And you accepted that this is just how men are. And men of the cloth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was your grandfather pastor?
Deacon. Yep. So, yeah. And see, the Bible says in Romans chapter 7, verse 18, that there dwelleth no good thing in the flesh.
Right.
So in other words, we all have an evil nature through God's grace that we're trying to manage.
See how he's rambling off all these goddamn scriptures, and yet his actions with him being in the church have not matched any of the scriptures that he knows. At the end of the day, a man that grew up in the church, all that means is that he was physically in the church. I think of like the class clown or someone that doesn't do well in school. I always had noticed that the kids that got perfect attendance in school, they never achieved much. They never were really that smart, the kids that got perfect attendance, because the reason why they got perfect attendance, their parents didn't want to stay home with their asses. So, but the perfect attendance does not translate to great student. Just like how a man going to church every day, that does not translate to him being a good man. That just means that he knows how to go to a place and either get transported to a place or transport himself to a place and just be present. Doesn't mean that he was passing the classes or studying or not being an interruption in class or anything like that. It just means that he fucking went. Just like I was rambling off these scriptures, all it means is that all he knows how to do is pick up a book and memorize some lines.
Yes.
You know, and that's a daily thing, because I believe you could, like I said earlier, you could be saved and not delivered. You know, deliverance is a process.
Absolutely.
And that's why one of the things that have helped me is Isaiah 58:6. It says that when you fast, you loose bands of wickedness and you undo heavy burdens. So my wife will tell you there's been many days where I've had to push my plate back to fight my own personal demons.
That's
We all got them.
That's good.
Yep.
See, what I love about you, Reggie, is that you're 1000% transparent.
Right.
The reason why I love you is because my whole podcast was built off of that. I said, we need to find healing. I said, I was broken. I was 5 years post my divorce. And I said, I can't be the only person struggling like this. I can't be the only person that is a Christian that struggles with things of the flesh. And I said, I want to create a platform that would provide for others what I wish was provided for me. And I said, I'll sit at the feet of people and learn. And it came from the scripture, confess your faults one to another so that you may be healed. Sure. And so I said, okay, God, all right, I'm gonna do that. And the Bible says people overcome by the word of your testimony and by the blood of the Lamb. So I said, God, I want the blood of the Lamb to be the foundation of this podcast. And I want this platform to be a platform that helps people overcome. And when I say that you two are the epitome of the foundation of what this podcast represents. And I honor y'all for walking in this thing called marriage and this walk of Christ and saying, hey, listen, y'all ain't got no stones to throw at me. Because hey, listen, I walk freely. And that's what I love. I want to back up. By you knowing this man was like this, what made you decide to marry him?
I thought that the title husband would change him. I did. I walked in thinking that if he was.
This is very important. This is the common pitfall that women always make when it comes to a man asking to marry them. She is saying exactly how most women think.
Was my husband and I was his wife, that a title could make you change. I learned very quickly that titles do not make people change.
Titles don't make people change. A man is not going to sit here and get down on one knee and put a ring on your finger. And at the end of the day, he just woke up and had a whole life transformation as if he's been the same person for 25, 26, 27, 28 years. And one day he just woke up and decided, I'm going to give it all up for you. You are so special that I'm going to change my ways for you. No, he's not going to do that. Get your validation, get your self-esteem out of it being rooted in a man changing for you. That means that as a woman, you're just as controlling as a man is if you think that him marrying you thinks that you can change him. You cannot change anybody. You cannot. Men tell you women this over and over again. This is who we are. You're either going to accept it or just don't deal with us. It does not matter. I don't care how much you cook for him, how much you clean for him, how many massages you give him, how much sex you have with him. It is not going to change him into a reformed man that you want him to be. You're trying to gain your validation. You're trying to gain your validation from someone changing for you. Men aren't going to change.
And I also thought that if he would own me, I want to be Mrs. Steele. If he had ownership, then he would treat me accordingly.
Did you just hear him in disgust? Oh my God. Even he is disgusted by what she said. Marriage is ownership. Marriage started off, it is slavery. Marriage is slavery. Marriage was created in ownership. Marriage started off with, our family doesn't have enough money. We need some money. So we need to pawn her off to the highest bidder. And whoever pays the highest is going to be her husband. That's where marriage started. Marriage was the slavery of women. So when she's saying ownership, technically she's right. A lot of women want to get married and y'all don't even know what you're asking for. You're literally asking to be a slave to a man. She literally just sat here and said, because I signed up to be a slave to a man, I thought that he was going to realize that, look at what I'm giving up. Look at what I'm sacrificing. I am literally signing up to be your slave. And because of that, she figured that it was going to make him see her different, treat her different. Women want marriage and do not realize that you want to be a slave in most cases. Not saying everyone that's married, obviously, but that's where it started off.
I had to learn that way that wasn't true either. And so I really, I just knew that if we could just be united, that would make a man change, but it doesn't. And plus, I needed to change also. We were two teenagers getting married, and I was looking for fulfillment. I was wanting to fulfill a void that I was missing. Of course, that void can only be filled by Jesus. I didn't know that then. But when I found out I was pregnant, before we got married, I ended up getting kicked out of my house by my parents. They were very upset by me, with me, and was moved into his parents' home, who were bishop and first lady. And
of course, your parents were upset with you. I would be upset with you too. Your mom went through a divorce for a reason with infidelity. She knew what you were going to sign up for. The reason why this marriage has probably lasted for so long is because this woman has her ego wrapped around in keeping the marriage long, because she doesn't want to look at her mother and tell her mother, we ended up getting divorced. Well, I told you so. Listen to everything listen to everything, stay for the whole thing, listen to everything that she endured. If this is not her protecting her ego, I don't know what is. She rather endure disrespect, infidelity, probably abuse. She's willing to endure all of that to protect her own ego. So that way her own mother can't tell her, I told you so. I told you not to do it. Women get a lot more protection than they like to lead on. Women get a lot more protection than they like to lead on. But just like men, your pride and your ego being surrounded by getting picked, getting male validation, getting chosen is going to be, it's going to be your demise. A man is going to use that for his own benefit.
And I got thrusted from a Catholic lifestyle to storefront Pentecostal tambourine, getting healed, the same 30 people getting prayed for every Sunday church.
Facts.
And when I was in that environment, I didn't know what was going on. I was the project every Sunday because they were trying to push me down. I thought, and because I wouldn't give in, I have a demon now. And so I was forced into this.
So I was the project every Sunday.
I was thrust into this lifestyle because when I found out I was pregnant, we were actually broken up during the summer.
Okay.
We're going to college. I had a full ride scholarship to college for classical piano. He had one for
classical
baseball.
piano.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I was a classical pianist. And so I'm out of state. I find out
and she actually had clearly a bright future on her own. Woman had a full ride scholarship for piano. So obviously she was smart. Obviously she was very gifted.
Pregnant. I call him and I said, hey, I've got some news for you.
4 weeks later.
And he goes, well, I got some news for you. And I'm like, well, you tell me first. He's like, I went to church tonight. I gave my life to Jesus. I'm saved. I'm going to be a preacher. I had never heard this before from him because he never spoke to me about Jesus. So, and he's like, my life has changed. I said, well, preacher, I'm pregnant. And first he asked me a question.
Who? Because I'm like, you've been gone for 4 weeks.
Come on.
I'm like, you're in Richmond, Virginia.
I am not you.
You know.
I am not you.
So the first thing I told her, I said, keep the baby. Yep. I'll help you.
Right. Which is a miracle.
Because the plan was always, if something ever happened, we got to get an abortion.
We always knew that.
You know, we don't want anything to interrupt our future, our life, and so on and so forth. But when she got home a week or two later, we only lived a half a mile from each other.
Right.
So we met up at
half a mile.
Yes, half a mile. We went to different high schools, though, thank God, because if we went to the same high school, it wouldn't work.
Pay close attention to their dynamic during this interview. Based off of their dynamic in this interview, you will clearly see nothing has changed in their marriage. As much as they try to pass it off as if that was just a rocky moment that they had, you will see nothing has changed.
We went to different high schools.
So we met up when she got back from Richmond. And I met up with her and I'm like, we're going to keep this thing pushing. We're going to have the baby.
He was radically saved, going to church, living for Jesus, just changed his life completely. And then after we got married, about a couple months after we got married, he looked at me and said, I never had fun. And I didn't know what that meant.
And
literally he backslid for 5 years. Yeah. So he left this holy lifestyle back to smoking weed, drinking, chasing women. We would fight. Our house became a party house because my relationship with Jesus was attached to him. So if he went to church, I went to church. If he didn't go to church, I didn't go to church. And it is a form of idol worship, which I know that now. But he was my connection to Jesus. So at that time I was chasing with knives, trying to jump on hoods of cars, fighting women. That was kind of a common thing. We were living in Section 8 housing on food stamps, having children. And it got so crazy that one day I said, I can't do this anymore because someone's going to
Imagine how different her life would have went if she never met this man. She would have not been pregnant. She would have been in college still, pursuing whatever it was that she was trying to pursue on a full ride scholarship. Thank you for the super chat, C-Tip. Enjoying the content, Queen. Thank you. You're very welcome. Child knows I suffered through watching this whole thing yesterday. I saw a clip of it on TikTok. I ran to find this on YouTube. Ran to find this. But imagine how different her life would have been if she would have never met this man. Like, listen to this. She's running after women with knives. She's hopping on cars. She's pregnant. And then she's going to continue to tell you she then went into a life of poverty being with him.
It hurts. Someone's going to either go to jail or get killed. Seriously.
So basically, Jasmine Sullivan, I broke the windows out your car was your theme
Absolutely.
song of your marriage.
No problem.
You over here jumping on hoods.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Finding him at clubs, confronting just the whole thing.
So help me understand that. So what happened to where you find yourself on the hood? He's in the car?
Yeah, trying to leave.
Oh, so he's in the car. He ain't with the woman.
No.
She would sometimes hide my keys and
help him look for him.
That's how bad it was.
She would hide the keys and help him look for him.
Yes, be hunting. Where could they be?
And then yeah. And then back then you didn't have GPS. We didn't have cell phones. And so my friends would be like, "Hey, Reggie, man, your wife found us in the club."
Yeah.
How would you find them?
I had mental GPS.
All my friends call her.
That's right. Well,
they call her to this day Detective Kelly.
I can find anything. I would check mileage. I'd find hairs in the car. Whose hair is this?
Hair fibers. So so you're supposed to work for forensics.
Well, sure. Actually, ended up working for the police, actually. But
you did?
For 13 years.
So finally, I was about.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I finally was like, I'm going to leave him. At this point, I was working my way out of poverty. I got a job with the police department, and my aunt found me a job in Virginia to have me work there because I was going to leave. It was really bad. And I had my 2 babies with me trying to leave, and I put my hand on the door. And I'm not going to say God told me to stay or leave, but I felt like I couldn't leave. And I cried because I felt like I can't leave. And I went to bed that night and had a dream of him preaching.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning. Well, first of all, you were upset that I was still home.
Yeah, because I got home. I'm like, I thought you were moving to Virginia with the 2 kids. And she said, I had a dream that you became a preacher. I said, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So this is what I don't understand. First, you say, hey, the baby, I want to make sure that like the baby is taken care of. I want you to be here for the baby. But then now you're saying, oh, well, I thought you were going to move to Virginia with the 2 kids. I thought you were going to absolve me from all of my father responsibilities. That's the reason why he was cutting her off. That's the reason why he was cutting her off when she was trying to go into detail with the pregnancy thing, because clearly he wanted to have control over the narrative, over what it is that she's saying. Joni, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you. So that's the reason why he just told on himself. Thought you were going to go to Virginia with the 2 kids. You didn't want them goddamn kids. You probably wanted her to get rid of those kids. Clearly that's what you wanted to do.
So just because my dad does that means I got to be disciplined and committed, and I'm not trying to be either one.
Right. And he said, I'm gonna keep on smoking this weed and chasing these women. That's what he told me. And but I just felt like that dream could happen. I believed it. And one night, shortly after that, I was by myself because the marriage was still horrible, crashing, and I felt like I was gonna lose my mind. Because, you have all these moments, God's amazing because you'll have moments of clarity, then moments of complete confusion. Yeah. And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, like, I'm gonna lose my mind because he left again, it's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not worth, you're not worthy of anything. You should, end your life and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way I was able to call on the name of Jesus. And when I call on
Joni, I appreciate you. You've been here since day one. I really appreciate you. You've been so supportive, literally, since day one. This is the issue that I have when it comes to Christianity and religion. Women will talk they will have this devil angel mindset type of thing. And what'll happen is that's not the devil. Okay, that's not the devil. The thing that really bothers me when it comes to religion is that they absolve any negative thought onto the devil. That way they do not have to be self-aware. That way they don't have to take any accountability for them to have self-improvement. Because what she's considering to be the devil was really just her trauma in her deep, dark thoughts in her subconscious telling her, listen, you have a low self-esteem. You don't like yourself. You don't value yourself. This man is never going to love you. He's going to tell exactly why he chose to marry her, what his process was. He is going to lay it all out there. This man has never loved her, and based off of their dynamic in this interview, he still does not love her. Having to be in a state of confusion is a red flag. She was very codependent.
His name, I literally felt his arms wrap around me. And that was my first encounter. I wasn't at church. I was by myself. There was no music playing. The lights weren't dim. None of that. It was me and Jesus. And I had a radical heart shift from that moment. I got in my word, under my word. I just completely changed as a person. And I realized that God loves me, that God has a purpose and plan for my life, that God chose me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So he would call me out my name. It wouldn't bother me because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him, not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you. I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night.
Yes, you heard that right. You heard that right. Oh, no. I ended up going, hold on.
Look for him.
Hold on. Sorry. I ended up clicking and I scrubbed it back.
3 days later, and she's like, what do you want for dinner?
You're like, I don't know if I'm eating that. You're going to poison me.
I believed it. And one night shortly after that, I was by myself because the marriage was still horrible, crashing. And I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Because, you have all these moments, God's amazing because you'll have moments of clarity, then moments of complete confusion. And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, like, I'm gonna lose my mind because he left again, it's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not worth, you're not worthy of anything. You should, end your life and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way I was able to call on the name of Jesus. And when I called on his name, I literally felt his arms wrap around me. And that was my first encounter. I wasn't at church. I was by myself. There was no music playing. The lights weren't dim. None of that. It was me and Jesus. And I had a radical heart shift from that moment. I got in my word, under my word. I just completely changed as a person. And I realized that God loves me, that God has a purpose and plan for my life, that God chose me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So he would call me out my name. It wouldn't bother me because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him, not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you. I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I was.
Imagine staying with a man that's telling you this. I hate you. I don't love you. I wish I would have never married you. This is insanity. And mind you, they own a church. They own a church. That little book that they have on the table, that's their book. They're on this podcast trying to promote their church and trying to promote their book. They are willingly trying to teach other women to allow this, to make women feel like this is okay, that this is normal, that this is what comes along with marriage.
That you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night. And these are all things I was graced to do. I would not encourage anybody to do that unless you are graced by God to do this. But once I knew who I was, I realized.
Girl, God would never look at a woman and say, yes, please be with a man that hates you. And please be a helpmate to the point where you are going to iron and fold his clothes for him so he can look fresh for a side chick. The Lord would never.
Oh, the enemy's after him. So I began to pray for him, not for my husband before, but as a soul. I didn't want him to be lost. Whether we made it or not, I didn't want him to be lost. I wanted him to be in his purpose because of that one dream I had that lasted about 2 seconds.
And this is all true because I can remember before she had this encounter with God, I would come home 2-3 days later, my clothes would be bleached. I would find my toothbrush floating in the toilet. So, and then the blessings that she wasn't home because she would have probably died.
Oh, wisdom. Wisdom said you leave after you do that.
I'm looking at my K-Swiss back then. I'm looking at my IOU sweater, my jeans.
I bleached it all.
I bleached. And so weeks later, now I'm coming home 2-3 days later, and she's like, what do you want for dinner?
You're like, I don't know if I'm eating that. You're going to poison me.
I said, she's going to kill me. Now I'm sleeping with one eye open.
Yes. I got his bathwater.
You're too nice right there.
I'm like, wait a minute. Now, I've been gone for 72 hours.
Why are you drinking nice?
Right. I'm looking to make sure she don't throw grease on me.
Right.
All of that. But then I started waking up with crosses on my head.
Because the mothers of the church said, pray for him with anointed oil. And I couldn't.
And then you hear what she just said, the mothers of the church. So clearly she's telling the women of the church what their marital issues are. And just like I said in my video talking about, religious men are wolf in sheep's clothing, when these women are talking about their marital issues in the church, all they're doing is getting gaslit. All of the onus is on the woman. What are you doing? What are you not doing? Well, how are you doing it? Are you not communicating it properly? This is just what comes along with marriage. God, you can do these are all the things you need to do to be able to bless your marriage. She is taking this advice from other women in the church who subconsciously want her to be miserable just as much as they are miserable.
Afford olive oil, so I just got the Crisco at home and blessed it. And
they were so fucking poor. This woman went from a full ride scholarship to play the piano to living out of poverty with not even enough money to afford goddamn olive oil that she's making do with Crisco to be able to create her anointing oil. To, I guess, burn the cheating demon, bless the cheating demon out of this man.
Just put it on his head, his hands, and his feet, and he'd wake up all greasy.
Yeah.
Like 3-day-old chicken.
Right.
Greasy and hungover. He'd be like, what are you doing?
And then she would tell me, you gonna preach. I'm like, no, I'm not. Proverbs 18:21, of course, says death and life is in the power of the tongue.
And they that love it eat the fruit thereof.
There you go. Right. And she would speak those things.
And he would not go to church.
No.
I would always be there. Yeah. And then he would call me a holy roller. Then he'd get me mad. And then I'd end up cussing him out. He'd be like, where's Jesus now? You know,
he was being a devil.
Yeah,
right.
Reactive abuse. That is clearly reactive abuse. You're going to cheat. You're going to be disrespectful. You're going to gamble. You're going to do all of these things. And then when a woman decides to finally react, then you're going to pretty much flip it on her and be like, oh, I thought you were so holy. I thought that you loved Jesus. Where's all of that now? How come you are sitting here? How come you all of a sudden you're acting like the devil now? Reactive abuse. They push you, they push you, they push you, they push you. And then once you can't take it anymore, you react. And then all of a sudden, it's your fault for reacting.
Yes, he was.
So Reggie, when you were hearing her say this, and this is conflicting with your spirit, because of course she's battling against that the evil spirit that's inside you. She's warring against that. What in your subconscious? Because there's always moments where in the Bible it says the prodigal son says, and he came to himself. Right. So in those moments where that battle is taking place, what were you thinking internally? Even though your mouth may be uttering, "You crazy, you this," but the words that you weren't saying. Can you go back to that moment and tell me internally what were you saying? What were you seeing her as?
You know, I saw her as the enemy. Right. You know, I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna stay black and die, like she said, and chase women, smoke weed. That's where my mind was, because I've been overtaken. Yeah. You know, I was having fun. Even the Bible says that sin is good for a season. So I was having a phenomenal time. The last thing I wanted to be was connected to her, connected to the church, right? Because then that's work.
So why did you stay? Why were you still coming home?
Because I had 2 kids. Well, then by that time we had 3. I was always a phenomenal father. I was a horrible husband. Yeah, he was. You know, but when it came to my kids, you know what I'm saying?
And so you looked at being outside the home as a failure. But you had to stay in the household, no matter how you showed up as a husband, but you wasn't going to relinquish your responsibility as a father.
I would tell her all the time, I'm not going to let another, I had 2 daughters who are right now 31 and 29. And I always told her, I'm not going to let another man come here and feed my children, my daughters especially. That's not going to happen on my watch. So
you notice how very few men can do both? Very few men can do both. They always pick and choose. Either they know how to be a decent husband and they're a shitty father, or they are a shitty husband and then a great father. Because at the end of the day, his children, they have his last name. His identity is now tied to those children. And he wants to be able to mold them, groom them, create them to be the person that he wants them to be. This is a very, very common thing with fathers. Fathers do this even with their own daughters. You see it in Hollywood all the time. That is what Britney Spears' father did with her. That is what Beyonce's father did with her. When these men, when their ego and their identity is rooted in their children, they care more about their children for identity purposes, not because they actually want to look out for the child. They care more about, okay, I want to be in control of what my child is doing, because once my child has success, I want them to attribute it to me. I want them to, go on ahead and give me that credit. And so that's where this is really coming from. This is not coming from a place of, oh, I want to be there for my children. I want to make sure that they are protected. He already said, I'm not going to let another man feed my kids. You're barely able to feed them. Y'all are living in poverty. Y'all are fucking living in poverty. You barely have enough money to fucking feed these kids. What are you talking about?
just said, well, and plus I came from a 2-parent home. Even though my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women, he married my mom and had me and my 3 sisters.
Right.
So before that, he had 6 kids. Yeah. So coming from a 2-parent home, that's all I knew. So I'm like, we just gonna work this out. So I came from dysfunction.
And that was our normal. So there was even one time one of his girlfriends came to my job to confront me because she found out about me. And I had to be like, chick, I'm the wife. But anyway, she asked me.
She came to confront you because she found out about me.
She had to explain to her, I work 2 jobs.
Yeah, I go, why would I get rid of him?
He works 2
jobs. Sometimes you can't afford divorce.
He works. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. I got to be very careful when I scrub this because it's so long. Let's listen to what she said again.
Failure. But you had to stay in the household, no matter how you showed up as a husband, but you wasn't going to relinquish your responsibility as a father.
I would tell her all the time, I'm not going to let another, I have 2 daughters who are right now 31 and 29. And I always told her, I'm not going to let another man come here and feed my children, my daughters especially. That's not going to happen on my watch. So I just said, well, and plus I came from a 2-parent home. Even though my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women, he married my mom and had me and my 3 sisters. Right. So before that, he had 6 kids. Yeah. So coming from a 2-parent home, that's all I knew. So I'm like, we just gonna work this out. So I came from dysfunction.
And that was our normal. So there was even one time one of his girlfriends came to my job to confront me because she found out about me. And I had to be like, chick, I'm the wife. But anyway, she asked me.
She came to confront you because she found out about me.
She had to explain to her, I work 2 jobs.
Yeah, I go, why would I get rid of him?
He works 2
jobs. Sometimes you can't afford divorce. I'm like, he's making rent. We got to work this out.
So much to unpack here. Please, ladies, stop falling for this 2-parent household bullshit. Statistics show the only benefit a child has from being raised in a 2-parent household is financial, because there are typically 2 incomes. That is the only statistic that's proven to be beneficial for a 2-parent household. That is it. She just proved this by saying sometimes you can't afford divorce. Why would I get rid of him? He works 2 jobs because she doesn't have anything. Her life ended before it had even got started because right upon starting college on a full fucking ride scholarship to play the piano, she became pregnant with his child. She didn't have a leg to stand on. There was no way that she was rooted in any type of financial security. That's the big reason why a lot of these marriages, that when these men that you're dating, they come from 2-parent households, that is the reason why they came from a 2-parent household. Because the wife was too poor to be able to leave. You don't know what's going up under their roof. Women got to stop projecting what they think is happening. What happens is that they shame single motherhood so bad. It's the pendulum swing effect. They shame single motherhood. And so you think that, okay, single motherhood bad, 2-parent household good. No, it's not. There is no guarantee because you don't know the dynamic of what was happening in that 2-parent household. You're just trying to project that, oh, well, he didn't grow up with a single mother, which means that he must be great. He must be perfect. He must have been raised correctly. It means nothing. They're just doing this to be able to not have CPS take their goddamn children away. Having children in poverty.
And I let her know I'm not. She's like, "Are you gonna leave him?" I'm like, "No, I'm not leaving him." I said, "We're just work it out like we always do." And she didn't understand that, but
so what's she trying to do? Get rid of you so she can keep you?
I guess, but he was. Listen, he was financially an asset at that time, but I did reach a point where I was tired, and I finally prayed the prayer. It was probably about 5 years into our process. Lord, do whatever it takes to save him. Because although I was going to church, praying, doing all this, it didn't seem to be making a difference.
So this was going on for 5 years.
Sure.
When he had a reprobate mind.
Yes, completely. And I was working for the police department as a dispatcher. It was 3:00 in the morning. I worked nights. He worked days because we couldn't afford daycare. I was dispatching. I got a call of armed robbery in process. I got the K9, the air units that were perimeter. We were chasing him. We pulled the car over, arrested them, and it was him.
And my cousin. Yeah.
She was on patrol and got dispatched to arrest her own fucking husband. Could you imagine? I thought that the Lord Jesus, our Savior, was supposed to protect. I thought the man was the cloth. I thought that there were all of these things. I thought that there were all of these things that you could do to prevent all of these things from happening. Like every single thing, every single sign she could have had to show her red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. She's like, get out of my way, red flag. Get out of my way, red flag. I'm not trying to see that shit. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Kermit the Frog at this moment. This is T.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you say you got the call and it was him?
It was him committing armed robbery.
Yeah.
Caught him.
Yeah.
And he was arrested.
I was arrested, me and my cousin.
And could you guess why he was committing armed robbery? Because they didn't have any fucking money. He had brought 3 kids. I think he said at this point they had 3 children. So they brought 3 children into poverty. He works 2 jobs, and obviously he doesn't earn enough money because he is in such a financial bind where he is feeling obligated at this point where he has to rob somebody. This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. And then he's over here talking about, I refuse to let another child feed my children. How you gonna feed your children if you behind bars? How you gonna feed your children if you're in jail?
Yep. So he is now facing 7 to 21 years in prison.
7 to 21.
I got off the floor, told my sergeant what happened because I didn't want to lose my job because you can't be married to a criminal.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't know what he was doing. And my first thought was, who has my kids? Because it was 3 a.m. But
my baby sister, she would come in and watch the kids while I'm out.
He robbed people.
And I kept a few dollars in her pocket.
Oh, this is an ongoing thing you used to do. She never knew she was robbing.
No,
it was ongoing.
And had no idea because he was a psych tech during.
And he had been doing this. So he had been robbing people. It just so happened that this time he was actually caught. And did you just hear what she just said? She is assuming that this man is at work or that he's doing something else. So she thinks that, where are my kids? She didn't even know where the hell her kids are. And he's supposed to be protective over his family. He's supposed to be the one that is fearful of another man feeding his children's mouth. But yet he's harming other people to be able to feed his children
the day and a robber at night.
Yeah.
Call about double-minded. This is what I was living with.
Yeah.
And so I
Let
finally
me tell y'all something. I never knew all this when I invited him on the podcast.
Right.
This is a whole different story.
Yeah.
Just that marriage I found fascinating. This right here, this is a whole movie.
It is.
A whole
So he was in jail for 3 days. You can take
and
it.
then during that day 3, I was on top bunk. I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. I had a Bible in my hand. I'm reading the Bible. 3 seconds later, they said, still, roll up over the intercom. And I looked at my bunkie. He was down under me. And I said, hey, man, did they say still? He said, I think so. So I go up to the front and they said, yeah, you've been bonded out. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you've been bonded out. So when I got out in the parking lot, I saw my wife out there and my mom and dad. I looked at my dad. I said, I'm ready to be a preacher.
True story. That was a conversion.
Listen, when God did that in 3 seconds, not 3 minutes, not 30 minutes, when I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. 3 seconds later, they said, still, roll up.
Yep.
And when I went outside, I told my dad I'm ready to accept my call. And you know my dad, the best thing he ever did, he said, well, if you want to be a preacher now that you're in all this trouble, he said, you and Kelly clean my church every Monday and Thursday, and then I'll let you preach in the next year. And so every month
do that for a year.
And I'm grateful for my dad because he gave me a mop and not a mic. Because Yeah. So I was 24 years old. Yep. And I didn't start preaching until I was 25, which is, I'm 53 now. So we're talking 28 years ago.
Right.
And we cleaned that church every Monday, every Thursday. And we would lay our 3 kids would be with us. They were babies. And they would live in the altar while we cleaned the church, the bathrooms and all that. And then a year later, my dad said, you ready? And then I preached a message, January 1997 called Roll with the Punches out of 1 Peter 4:12, thinking not strange concerning fiery trials. So Romans 8:28 says, and we know all things work together for the good to them that love God
and are called
according to his purpose. And speaking of purpose, see, I think part of the problem with a lot of people that are married or not married, they're looking more for preference over purpose. I believe that this is my purpose.
Right.
Because she really wasn't my preference.
I wasn't.
It's gonna get worse, y'all. It's gonna get worse, y'all. Let's burn some sage really quick, y'all. Let's burn some sage. We gotta get this negative. Hold on, y'all. We gotta get this negative energy up out of here real quick, y'all. I got a little bit of sage. Let me sage y'all. Because it's about to get worse. So what he is about to tell you is everything that I tell you, ladies, when it comes to men saying that they want to marry you, saying you believing that marriage is the highest tier, like the highest tier of you being able to accomplish something, right? You're going to see how they really think, what it really means to them, to a man, when they decide that they're going to marry you, because it's not what you think it is. It's not. It is not what you think it is at all. Okay, so we're going to take a little deep breath in. Then we're going to blow it out. And then we're going to take another deep breath in. And then we're going to blow it out. All right. Let's get back into this.
But when she opened the door at 17 years old and I was 18, and I said, "Oh my God." And she said, "What?" I said, "You're my wife."
Yep.
I knew it.
Yep.
And here I am in a backslidden condition, but I knew she was my wife.
Right.
Straight up. We need people to start kind of looking more for purpose than preference.
That's right.
Listen, I want y'all to just keep on talking because I'm going to show y'all an episode in my first season called Preference versus Purpose.
Oh,
that was the first thing that's what God told me way back then.
Because I knew I wasn't his preference. My husband dated little Latina girls with long hair and big titties.
You got to remember, I'm from Arizona.
In fact, when he first met me, he's like, "You're cute, but you're a little heavier than what I'm used to." And I go, "What are you used to?" He's like, "I'm used to, $1.20, $1.25. I said, "Well, I'm almost $2. So I don't know what to say here.
I'm almost $2. I love it. Why are you so self-aware though? How did you become that?
I guess I'm just a realist when it comes to it. I understand. It is what it is. I mean, just because I'm not his preference don't mean he's not going to, like this. I mean, he's been coming back for 32 years.
Well, 30.
Men marry who they can. They try to flip it. The red pill tries to flip it. And the red pill tries to say, women sleep with who they want and then marry who they can. No. Men sleep with who they can and marry who they can. And she's going to go, they're going to expose more. They're going to expose more as to why he could not have his preference. He's going to explain to you why he did not go after his preference. A lot of men, they call it the yellow taxi theory. Whatever woman is in front of them that they can gain access to on that given day, at that given time, when they are ready, when they say, all right, it's time for me to get married, it's time for me to get a wife, they're going to ask the first woman in front of them that is available. They settle for the woman that wants to settle with them. That is how it works. Very, very, very few men are married to the woman that they actually want to be with. Very, very few.
35 years.
But some people may look at that as you have low self-esteem.
Probably, maybe. And like you said, I had no value, had no worth. And I said that from the beginning. I said, I didn't know who I was. And I was just very, open and honest about that. But I was confident that we should be together. It's very unique.
And so
it's not unique. It's really just fucking stupid. It's stupid. It's diluted. It's really sad. It is. It's really, really sad. I hope that they were monetarily compensated greatly for this podcast, to be exposing this to people publicly, because this is, for me, this is a humiliation tactic on her part. Pure humiliation tactic.
A lot of stuff that y'all are saying is going to trigger a lot of women. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at it like, see, that's that struggle love they talking about. I don't want it. Right. I don't want the struggle love. I don't want to have to deal with a man that has to go through all that. Mm-hmm. And
you're damn right. You're damn right.
Me lower my standard, lower my value, lower everything that I know that I am as a woman, to work through the cultivation of a man. For a man to be in this broken state, disrespectful, call me out my name, parading women in front of me, and then I'm gonna pray for his deliverance and pray, no, God, I need the reformed man. Bring me the man that after he's been set free and delivered. I want that process.
They want that finished product.
So my question to you, because only you can say that, what would you, I don't even want to say advice. How can you reframe or state, because this is your story, this is your journey, my story. It's your story. Sure. What would you say to the women that may be looking at this and say, see, that's that nonsense they're talking about?
Well, I would say that's why you're single still.
She said that with her chest. She said, well, that's why you're single still. Girl, we don't want what you got. She's saying it as if she is flaunting off something that women are begging for. Women are not begging for this. She She does not want to ever be single. So she's projecting the fact that because I'm not comfortable being single, everyone else doesn't want to be single. She thinks that her marriage is a flex. She thinks that everything that she had to endure to be able to be with this man, she thinks that this shit is a flex. And she really thinks that women are jealous of her. She really, really thinks that we are jealous and we want what she has.
Because I'm sure somebody had been in your life already,
pick the fight,
and you didn't want to give the investment for that person to become somebody, and then you lost them probably a long time ago. And you should have just worked with them from the beginning and just worked out the kinks and worked it out. Because a man can always build, money can always be made, and that's what we do. We build a life together, and I'm so thankful that that's what we've done. And that's why I think I value and love you so much, because we've built our life, and so they miss that building.
Y'all built a life at your expense. You see how they want to conveniently leave that part out, as if we don't have critical thinking skills over here, as if we don't know how to put 2 and 2 to fuck together. You built with a man at your own sacrifice. The only reason why you were able to build with that man, you had to walk away from your scholarship. You had to walk away from your college education that you were given for free. You were the one that had to become a mother and chose to become a mother. ×5 or whatever the fuck it is. That is the only way that you all were able to build anything. You were the one that had to be put into poverty when you did not have that upbringing. Lying to yourself through this building with a man. I should build with a man, yada, 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 yada. You building with a man is going to be at your expense and through your sacrifice. In order for you to build with a man, you are going to have to sacrifice yourself. Men are highly codependent. Men are not independent. Men definitely don't know how to be interdependent. And yet they're telling. So the Bible is saying that God is a man. You should respect God. You should respect the man. But yet we have to help you build. How if you are a deity, if you are of the Most High, if you're the leader, why do you need help building? Because they're not the leaders. They're not the protectors. They're not the providers. They are not able to fend for themselves. If it was not for this woman, he'd be dead right now or in prison. Quit waiting for these men to save you. They're out for self. They're looking out for themselves. They do not give a fuck about your well-being. They do not give a fuck about your happiness.
Process, because they want to come into it already done. I get it. Eve was put on the earth with everything done. I get it. That's why women want things to be set and done, because Eve showed up and everything was named and it was just there.
Wow.
But at the same time, God can give women a resilience, because we're a helpmeet for a reason, and we're supposed to help meet the need and help complete the man. I know it's going to cause a fight with that too, but I'm very into that, because I'm living it. I'm a living example of it works when you line up your life and get behind your man that is following God, that's submitted to God, and you say, Lord, what can I do to make him better? Your life overall becomes better.
Here's the episode I was talking about. Take a look at that.
Oh, I lost it. Yeah, I get it.
Look, it's right there.
Yeah, purpose versus preference.
My God.
Yep.
So it's my 7th episode.
Yeah.
Seventh.
My
How many
7th
years ago was
episode,
that?
5 years.
That was Revelation.
Yeah,
because we got that.
It was May the 27th. That's interesting. May the 27th of 2020, and it was episode number 7, which is episode 107, the first season. And it's called Purpose versus Preference with my friend Raquel Wesson. And God was telling me that. He said, a lot of times we may look at people, and in dating, that's the first thing we're gonna look at. This is what I prefer. I prefer a man that's this, this height, this look, this whatever. What were y'all saying earlier?
Most women want 6-pack, 6-figure, 6 foot.
And that 666 sounds like the devil.
Not the red pill talking point. Not the red pill talking point. The red pill talking point, look at who it's infiltrating. Look at who it is infiltrating. It's even infiltrating the church.
And what about that guy that's 5'8" with a gut that'll pay your bills?
Right.
That
love you properly.
love you properly.
You'll know where he is on the weekends.
That part.
He's not missing.
We love those men for their money. Yes, we love those men for their money. I'm not about to marry some man just because of that. I will gladly take his money. I will gladly let him pay my bills, but I'm not marrying that man. No thanks.
Right.
So let me ask you this. We talk about you not being his preference. Was he your preference?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you like about him?
I loved his name.
His name?
Yeah. I thought Reginald was such a great name. And then he just, he was an all athlete, everything back then, And
He was a superstar?
see, I met his mom when I was.
He
was. I met his mom when I was 15, getting my hair done. She gave me his number. I thought he must be ugly because she's recruiting because there's no social media. And so I didn't meet her. And I never called him. So 2 years later, I saw him at the mall with my dad, who was a teacher at the same high school he went to.
Yep.
He was looking at me. I was looking at him, but my dad's there. So that went away. About 6 months later, I was at a Black Youth Conference convention.
Quick, why was you with her daddy?
I was with my dad.
He was at the mall.
Okay.
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And so
I knew her dad. He was a teacher at my high school.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And my dad goes, "Oh, that's Reggie Steele." And I'm like, "Whoa," because he's just so cute with his big old Letterman jacket.
So at that moment, you connect that that's the same one?
Yeah, because I'd heard his name, back then, And so 6 months later, I was at a convention with a bunch of, high school students. And this girl named, I almost her name, but she said,
now pay very close attention, listen very closely. She's going to prove my point with what I say when in regards how men choose the women that they marry in most cases. They have to marry the woman that settles for them because they have their preferences. Here's the thing about men. They try to project this onto women. This is what men do. When they're young, when they're fit, when they have their shit together, they're able to get their preferences. They fuck over their preferences. And he was doing this in high school. Because remember, they're young. They fuck over their preferences in high school and then word gets around. And so then they no longer have their preference pool anymore. So look at what he did when he no longer had his preference pool.
Me and Reggie broke up. And I said, "Reggie who?" She said, "Reggie Steele." And this girl was not cute. And I said to myself, if she got him, I know I can get him. And
she gave
me the number.
Who did?
The girl, the ex-girl.
Gave you her number?
She gave his number. She gave me his number. And I called him and I told him who I was.
What made her give you the number? You asked for it?
Well, we didn't get along. So we were kind of rivals. So, and he dogged her. So she's like, yeah, you go ahead. In other words, you need to get dogged out too.
And a blessing.
And dog out, she has been getting.
As I ran into her years later, and I said, thank you for giving Kelly Conway my number.
That's right.
I said, she's Kelly Steele now.
Yeah.
That's what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was happy for us.
When I called her,
of course she gonna be even happier once she watched this shit. That woman gonna be even happier once she watched this shit because she gonna be like, I would have had to go through all of that. This is why I say the man he is going to marry out of convenience. He already said it. Purpose over preference. What purpose can you serve in my life? How can you be my slave? How can I put you to work? How can you meet my needs?
I said, we found out we lived down the street from each other.
Yep.
And he came over 2 days later.
Yep, sure
and that's
did.
when he opened the door and said, "Oh no, you're my wife." And I believed him, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah.
So hold on, let's back up. Now, how did you show up and propose? What was that like?
He just saw me.
Yeah, when I saw her, when she opened the door, I said, "Oh no, you're my wife."
Now your mom came home though at 15
and told me I found this.
When men try to make it like a fairy tale, or women try to make it like a fairy tale, when they're like, yeah, he looked at me, whenever they say, oh, the man will know automatically if you're his wife or not. What does that tell you? Because women love to say that, and they love to say it to other women as advice, as dating advice. Oh, the man will know right away. The man will know right away. They don't know anything about you. They know nothing fucking about you. Men don't have any intuition. Men are not spiritually guided. The reason why they're able to look at women and know who it is that they're going to marry is because they know you have a low self-esteem. They know that you are going to bend to their will. They know that he is going to be the prize in the dynamic. He wanted someone Latina and skinny with big breasts. He married a woman that was overweight and black. He made sure to marry someone where he could be the dominant one in the power dynamic. Men have an easier time doing this because we live in a patriarchal system where women prioritize men over themselves. So men do this. Men have a lot more leverage to be able to do this. Because he probably heard, come on, they were young. He probably heard from other people, oh yeah, man, she likes you. Oh yeah, man, she's attracted to you. He did not know that she was attracted to him. He didn't just not know. He must have heard from other people and figure, well, You know, she'll probably do this for me. She'll do this. And he's going to tell you. He's going to tell
Girl
you.
for you named Kelly Conway. Her dad's a teacher at your high school. You got to meet her. At that time, I was 16. She was 15. We didn't meet until we were 17, 18. We were seniors in high school.
They kept on coming back around.
But when that door opened, I looked at her. I said, oh, no, you're my wife. I think it was, even though I wasn't a spiritual individual at the time, it was more spiritual.
Because one thing he said.
And I left her. I was at her house for 8 hours.
Yes, we
just loved talking to each other. Normally, that would be an hour, 2 hour. All right, that's my max. I'm out.
No.
But I did 8 hours talking, just talking.
Yes.
And so what I did when I.
A marathon date. A marathon date is a manipulation tactic. If you are on a first date with a man and that date has exceeded 1 hour, maybe 90 minutes at the very most, that is a marathon date. He essentially is trying to work on your subconscious. He is trying to work on you over time and make a very, very strong impression on you. It's you will think it's a connection. It's not a connection. He literally is just like, okay, I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to agree with her. I'm going to mirror her. I'm going to say that I went through the same thing that she did. I'm going to say that she had the same upbringing as she did. And the thing about it is that he knew her father. So guess what else he probably was doing? He probably was gathering information on her because she said it. She said that she saw him at the mall with her father. Her father was giving him information to use on her, to manipulate her, to swoon her. Y'all really think that y'all fathers try to protect y'all, and they don't. Y'all really think that y'all fathers will make decisions in y'all best interest when it comes to other men. I don't care if it's your father, your uncle, your brother. They're always going to respect and look out for another man before they do it for you. They're never, ever, ever, ever going to look at you as their daughter, as their sister, as their aunt, and be like, you know what? Let me go on ahead and look out for her, knowing that it's another man involved. Guarantee you, I would bet my bottom dollar. Her father fed him the information to be able to deal with her. And also remember, her parents are divorced. Her parents are divorced. So her dad figure, well, I got divorced from, I don't want this to happen to that man. So let me help him out. Let me help him out so that he doesn't go through the same thing that I went through.
Yes, I thought, the date's over and I'm all excited that he's going to kiss me and I'm waiting for it. And he kissed my forehead. Oh, and I said, oh, he's such a gentleman. I didn't know him.
Why'd you do that? Because we saw that in the movie.
8 hours of just talking.
Yeah,
we just had chemistry. We connected. And then after that, I saw her every day. I lived on 53rd Avenue in Peoria. She lived on 47th Avenue in Peoria. Again, a half a mile. So it was easy to get to her house. So every day we saw each other. She was either at my house or I was at her house. Right. One thing I hated was that as the relationship evolved, I would have other girls at my house and my mom would call her.
And let me know.
This other girl at the house, but don't you worry about it, Kelly. He gonna marry you.
That's right.
Your mom used to say that.
I'd be like, Mom, why are you calling her? Why are you calling Kelly? I'm going off. I'm like, I'm 18. Like I'm in my 30s. Like, stop calling Kelly. Tell her you need to leave them other girls alone. My mom will go off. That's your wife.
Yeah.
She would say that to you.
Please don't comment, see, he liked her and put in the time. Please do not comment that. Please do not comment that. That is a manipulation tactic. He already said it's just that they live very close with each other. He did not put in the time because he liked her. He did not put in the time because he liked her. He could not keep any of his preferences. Most women do get that. It's very easy to get time. It's very, very, very easy to get time from a man. If you're a woman who's been married for a long time, you can't necessarily speak on dating dynamics. You can't speak on current dating dynamics. It's very, very easy to be able to get a lot of time from a man, even if it's Netflix and chill. Even if they want to go do something that costs no money. They want to spend time with women because we're the value. We are the value. When you are dealing with a man that you don't know, that's not normal. I'm sorry. You're with a stranger. You hanging out with a stranger for 8 hours on the 1st time and he's at your house, that's not normal. That's not normal. If you have a child, I would never ever, ever tell a daughter of mine, oh my God, you guys went on a date for 8 hours on the first date. Hell no. That's not normal. That you're literally telling your daughter, it's a stranger and you spent 8 hours with a stranger. Do you know how much information he is extracting from you within 8 hours? What are y'all doing for 8 hours on the first date? A person you don't know. A person that you have not had enough, that you've had enough shared experiences with over time to know this person. Can you imagine what information you are giving to a person upon first meeting them for 8 hours? No, there's nothing that you could tell me that to ever make sense. 100% manipulative.
My mom, because I was going to marry this other girl. And my mom said, Reggie, if you marry that other girl, she's not maternal and she's going to cheat on you.
Yep.
And she's not going to be a good mother. And, you know, my mother, her words carry weight. And still, my mom's 73 almost. And her words still carry weight in my life right now. Matter of fact, since my dad transitioned, she just recently moved in with us.
What did I tell you about these mothers? What did I tell you about these mothers? He cheats on women. He's a serial cheater on women. And what does his mom tell him? This is why I say, y'all will tolerate things that a man will never tolerate from you. They'll never tolerate from you. Look at her. She's been sitting here dealing with cheating for 5 years. And his mom is vetting her out. Like, no, vetting all these women out. No, that one's going to cheat on you. That one's going to cheat on you. No, no, no. Meanwhile, he's cheating on her. Mama playing both sides. So you're going to call her and tell her, hey, another woman is over here. Hey, another woman is over here. So you know that your son is cheating and having infidelity. But you're going to make sure that your son is with someone that is not going to cheat on him. So not only, essentially, she groomed her too. The mother groomed her too. So she's a pick-me for the mom as well. I'm telling you, these parents, they instill so much self-worth into men. They instill so much self-respect into men that they're never going to let you do a fraction of the things to them as they would do to you. Never.
Because my wife was like, your mom can live here forever because she's been my wife's mentor and told her, hang in there. Right. My mom would say things, don't allow a bad chapter to end the story.
Groomed her. The mother knew what she was fucking doing. Oh, she's a pick-me-sha. Oh, she likes him more than he likes her. Let me groom her so I have a place to live. Let me groom her and then pretend like I'm looking out for her. So I'm going to call her and tell her when it's other women over here and see if she still stays, because that's all that was. Yeah, mentor is code for groom. Mentor is code for groom. So let me pretend like I'm looking out for her by telling her that other women were over here, when in reality, I'm going to groom her to accept this type of behavior. This woman is not happy. This woman is not happy. Have y'all noticed how many times this man has cut her off during the interview? This is what they call a tolerable level of unhappiness. That is what this is called. A tolerable level of unhappiness. You've been married for so long. You've went through the motions for so long that you decide, you know what? Could I be happy? Sure. Am I miserable? No. I can deal with this level of unhappiness. It's tolerable. I can sustain this level of unhappiness. It's not that big of a deal. And you got to remember, she don't have a leg to stand on because they've created a ministry together. That's what these men do. That's why they want you. That's why they want you young. They need you young when you don't have your own career. They need you young when you do not have any foundation for yourself. That way you build a foundation together. So when they fall, you fall right down with them. And then when they want to go up, they're going to leave your ass behind. They cannot do that with a woman that has her own money, has her own degree, has her own things. They want you to have a foundation that they built. That way you're tethered and reliant on them forever. It's their ministry at this point because they built it together. That's why they want you to build with them. They want you to build with them. That way you think twice about, I invested so much time. I invested so much money. How can I start my own ministry? I'm not going to be able to do that. Where am I going to get the money? Where am I going to do? Where am I going to come from this? How is it? She already said it at the beginning. Some of us financially, we can't afford to divorce.
Stick it out. He's worth hanging with. He's gonna be a preacher one day. These are things my mom was saying.
When he was far from it.
I used to look at my mom like, you crazy and she crazy.
We're crazy.
There's no way in the world I could be a preacher. I'm dyslexic and a felon. I got a learning disability. And I'm a felon. And y'all up here talking about I'm gonna go preach around the world. Now here it is. I preached in New Zealand. I preached in Australia. I preached in London. I done preached in Jamaica, the Bahamas, and the list goes on. You know, Proverbs 18:16 says your gift
will make room for you.
And so it's been amazing these 28 years. And especially these last 20, because we've been pastoring now for 20 years this year. And even with that, my wife, I said, baby, all these other.
This 1000% is a humiliation ritual. I agree with you. Because they have the goddamn book on the table. It's so funny. We'll probably stop it at that point, but like they'll have a prayer and then they'll talk about their book. So essentially what they're trying to do, they're exploiting Christianity under the guise of we had all of this stuff going on in our marriage. We overcame these things in our marriage. Going ahead and buy our book so you can learn from us. Going ahead and join our ministry so, we can make more money off of you. You got to remember, he's an armed robber. He has a history of armed robbery. Criminals are criminals. They just come in different tiers. Once they get enough money, then they do things like launder money. There's a lot of church people that launder money through the church, the mega churches. How do you think that they're on jets and planes and they have all of these? They have a mansion. They have these luxury vehicles. How do you think that they're able to do that? They just find a new way. They just find a new way to manipulate and con people. So now they have money. Now everything's good. Now they're like, okay, what story can we create? What story can we create to have people come to our ministry and have people buy our book? We're the Sovereign Sisters over here. We ain't stupid now.
Pastors won't give me any money. And I said, I need your whole paycheck. And she gave me, that's how we started Kingdom.
True.
$1,300. We started the flea market. With 37 people.
Did you just hear that? Listen to this. He's a scammer with her money.
Australia, I preached in London, I done preached in Jamaica, the Bahamas, and the list goes on. Proverbs 18:16 says your gift
will make room for you.
And so it's been amazing these 28 years. And especially these last 20, because we've been pastoring now for 20 years this year. And even with that, my wife, I said, baby, all these other pastors won't give me any money. And I said, I need your whole paycheck. And she gave me, that's how we started Kingdom.
True.
$1,300. We started the flea market. With 37 people. Now we got over 10,000 members. A couple thousand of them show up every Sunday. We bought 10 acres in our 10th year of pastoring. So God's been good.
I mean, they bought 10 acres. And like I said before, it ain't like she couldn't have did this on her own. The girl had a full ride scholarship. To play piano. She could have been the next Alicia Keys for all we know. She could have been a great pianist for all we know.
It's been good.
But again,
so what would you say, Reggie? What would you say to the man that may look at his woman and say, "See, I told you, there's hope for me after all"? But he may be using that as manipulation to keep that woman in bondage to his foolishness. How can you been that type of dude? Is there any word of advice you can give to give people a level of discernment and or give that man conviction if he tries to use your story as something to keep his wife in bondage?
Well, 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. You got to get to a place where you eventually man up and be who God has called you to be. You can't, you're aging, but you're not maturing.
Right.
It's time for you to turn the corner, and really be the whole and complete man that God has called you to be. That's what I would tell that man. I would tell him, you got to identify those things in your life so you can crucify them, because what you don't confront, you can't conquer, because not everybody is wired like Kelly Steele.
Right.
Even when I started the church, I felt like every woman should be her. And I couldn't understand why women wouldn't fight for their marriage. I'm like, but my wife fought for me. And some of the women would tell me, I'm not Kelly.
Right.
And it took me a couple of years.
Right.
To realize, what, you don't have the grace.
No.
And so, and I can remember for years, my wife and my mother-in-law would tell me, we need to start a divorce care because some people are going to get divorced. And I'm like, no, everybody's going to stay married. We're not going to have any casualties. And But then I realized Malachi 2:16 says that God, he hates divorce. He does not hate us, but he hates how the enemy will come in and divide and separate. And I realized we need to start a divorce care. So we started that to help people land back on their feet.
Right.
But our first suggestion is, let's get you in here. Let's get you some therapy so you will fight for your marriage. But then there's some that are like, you know what, Pastor, I've been dealing with this joker too long. I don't have the grace to do it anymore.
Right.
And sometimes it go down like that. We know we live in a day and time where the average marriage is 8 years and 2 months.
Right. Yeah.
And only 34% of African Americans are married right now.
Right.
And 50 years ago, it was in the 80+%.
Yeah.
They said in the next 20 years,
It's going to be teens.
18%.
18, 17%. That's where we are.
We're in a crisis.
We're in a crisis. This is what I can't stand about our community. Marriage was not created for us. Every single thing in life that makes your life more difficult was created out of racism. Credit score created out of racism. The bar exam created out of racism. What else? A lot of things were created out of racism. That way Black people cannot get access to it. At the end of the day, this is a part of their identity for them to be able to make money. Like I've always said, religion is very performative, and it becomes even more performative when you're making money from it. This is a part of their identity. They have no choice but to stay married. They have no choice. Even if he was knocking her upside the head, they still wouldn't be able to get divorced because it would completely ruin what they've built. They have no choice but to stay married. Their livelihood depends on them staying married at this point. The thing about it is that I believe, I don't know if he said it yet, he might have, but I know that they both grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. She went to a predominantly white school. He changed his address to somebody else where he went to more of a urban school essentially. And so, growing up as someone that has grown up around that demographic, around white people, you learn that marriage is a business. You do. That demographic does not get married for love, especially when they are very high earning. They get married for business reasons. The intentions are different. So that's what all of this comes down to. This is really at this point how long they've been in the marriage. It's a business decision at this point. It just makes sense financially for them to stay married.
We are in a crisis. You got to make up in your mind to fight for your marriage. One of the things that we do that has helped us is that we date each other every week. There's 168 hours in the week. We always date on Friday, sometimes even Tuesday, because we're empty nesters. And when I'm out of town on a Friday, maybe preaching at another church, we'll go out on Thursdays.
Right.
Because I understand, my mom always taught me, what you put in your wife is what's going to come out of her.
Right.
It took me a while to figure that out, but I'm grateful that I figured it out. Another thing that's helped us is we believe in having hard conversations.
Right. See, that's part of it. When you say what you're saying, what wisdom would you give to somebody? I think that people today don't want to have honest conversations, hard conversations. That, for instance, anytime somebody sits down with you, meets you, says you're cute, but you're a little bigger than I'm used to, we kicked it off with a hard conversation. So I'm not offended in the truth, right? So I think that people need to realize if they want a relationship, it's okay to be honest and have those conversations. It doesn't mean that I don't want you. It just means I'm sharing this. I'm interested, but this is what I would like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It 100% means I don't want you. Listen, there are plenty of women out there who are happily married and they don't even realize that their husband hates them. They don't even realize that their husband does not like them. Okay. Fighting for your marriage in my comments, I don't care. Trying to prove your marriage in my comments, I don't care. like I said before, if women want to sign up to get married to someone that does not like them, or if you want to stay married to someone that really does not like you, listen, I am happy for you. Go do what it is that that you want to do. But you can't sit here and say that there's not a level of emotional or mental toll that comes along with that. I just feel like once you've been in it for so long, you just learn to forget about it. You just learn to deal with it. And then the thing too, he's not home all the time. That's another thing. He is not home all the time. Thank you for the super chat, Mama Brooke. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super sticker. He's not home all the time. So that is another thing. That is another thing that is keeping their marriage close. That's keeping it. She ain't got it. If he was there all the time, because he's going from place to place and he's most likely sleeping with other women when he's going to place, they would have been divorced a long time ago. He ain't there all the time. So that helps them greatly, because she doesn't have to keep being reminded in front of her that this man pretty much hates her.
I think we've got a lot of people too today that are giving advice, yet have no experience.
Yeah,
I call that the new.
They talk the talk, but
don't walk the walk. My husband and I are talking about. I call that the new artificial intelligence. You know, you have a lot to say, but
look at him holding his head. Even he understands that this is just nothing but bullshit. I guess this is the experience that we need. I guess for us to give advice, we have to be with a husband that, doesn't like us and that came an hour late to the wedding and, said that, I'm his starter, but there's other women on the bench. I had to bail him. Me and my mom, we had to put our monies together to bail him out of jail when I'm the one that had to arrest my own husband because he didn't have enough money to provide for us. And so he started becoming a robber. I guess because we didn't go through all of those things, we are not qualified to talk, I suppose.
Social media gurus.
You have no experience.
You've never been married, but you got all this marital advice.
Right. So now what you're giving is a false, you're giving false statements.
Did you say that's the artificial intelligence?
That's true. That's the real AI.
Let me ask you this. How did you not internalize that and say, well, maybe I can go lose some weight?
I actually started working out that week.
She lost like, I was like, when I saw her like a week or two later, we saw each other every day. I'm like, hey, you're losing weight.
Yeah.
She's like, you told me I'm bigger than what you used to, so I made it happen.
Yeah.
Someone said, how do you guys not know what a healthy relationship looks like? Child. You know how many relationships you look at that look healthy and the woman is being abused, the woman is being R-worded, the woman is extremely unhappy? It's giving low-level intelligence. It's giving very low-level intelligence. You cannot look at a person and know anything about what they're going through. You cannot look at two people and know what's going on in their marriage. That's very, very dangerous to spew to people. You're making it seem like people that have that mindset, you're making it seem as if it's very easy. You're making it seem as if it's very, very easy to just look at someone and say, oh, their marriage is perfect. You're not there. You're not there. Someone could easily, they could be a stranger to someone and someone say, oh yeah, we've been married for 32 years. You're just projecting. You're just projecting in your brain that they have a happy marriage, that everything is good for them. Where is your proof? How do you know? Where are your notes? What situations have you seen that person in to know that they are happy in their marriage or not? Anyone could smile. This is a reflection of how most marriages look. If they didn't look like this, women wouldn't be divorcing men 70% of the time. Like, I'm sorry. But you're one person. Exactly. Sorry, girl. I gotta time you out. If you're a girl, I can't have the pick-me's in here or a undercover man. This is the repercussion of forcing your pseudo power over the feminine. 100%.
Really?
And it wasn't from, so when you look at that, what was that? Would you feel like that was motivated from a healthy mindset?
Of course not.
Of
course
it was an approval.
Complete. It was, if this is what you want, this is what I'll give you.
And it wasn't a situation where you were starving yourself unhealthy and being bulimic or nothing, was it?
I wasn't bulimic, but I definitely was
starving
starving.
herself, yeah.
I'm a big girl. Don't take much to starve.
When I met her, she was
Don't take much to starve.
But I met her, she was 175.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm used to 125 too.
Yeah.
She 5'6", 175, and she was the wrong color.
Right.
And I was used to
That part.
So I'm like, man, you messing up my whole flow, because I'm going to predominantly Hispanic and black school.
Right.
She was at the white school in our
Right.
neighborhood, which I didn't go there because they didn't allow you to play quarterback. So I had to use my uncle's address to go to school in the hood.
Right.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother
because
story.
that's back. We're both graduates of 1991.
Yeah, we still ended up together.
Yeah.
So we know there was a God thing, but
You're the wrong color. You're the wrong size. And you got someone in here saying that this marriage is healthy. The women that we're going to assume that that's a woman, there are women who their identity is wrapped around their marriage. And so they take things like this very personal, because they're like, well, my marriage doesn't look like that. My marriage doesn't look like that. Listen, I'm not a baby mama, and I don't sit in comments of videos where men are downing baby mamas and say, well, I'm not a baby mama. Well, I'm not a baby mama. I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything to prove. As a woman, this is never cool to accept. Like I said before, he could not keep his preference. Could not keep his preference. This is why some of you all will ask me or want me to talk on like colorism and things like that. The reason why I decided to not really talk about it is because this is my viewpoint when it comes to colorism in men. There will be no such thing as colorism. There will be no such thing as colorism when you stop putting an emphasis on your color. Because this is the issue. We are all seeing that a man's preference does not translate to preferential treatment. It doesn't. It does not relate to preferential treatment. You will never be able to get, this is the thing with preference. It's a conquest. When you hear preference, you need to think of conquest. When a man cannot have a conquest over his preference, he loses. So your best thing to do is to care about your preference, not a man's preference. This is the reason why I don't really go deep in a colorist talk or anything in regarding to size or hair texture and things like that in regards to what men's preferences are. The only preference that you should be caring about as a woman is your preference. You need to be asking yourself, does he fit my preference? Does he have enough money? Is he the right size? Is he the right height? Does he live in the right place? Does he drive the right car? It is an absolute waste of time of you bickering back and forth about these men based off of what skin color they like, what this, what that. They take what they can get. He chose her because his preferences weren't stupid. That's why he ended up with her. He could not conquer his preferences. We'll never have a talk about men being colorists. We'll never have this competition amongst women when it comes to colorism and men having preferences when you care more about what you prefer because you actually like it, because it's not something that's coming from status and you being picky enough. He could not get his preference. Most men cannot get their preference. Most of them have to settle. Those women were smart as hell to not deal with him. They were smart as hell to not deal with him.
So you tell me, so what made you keep coming back to her? She's not your preference.
She lived down the street.
I would always feed him.
So you said convenience?
Very much. All my other girlfriends lived 30 minutes away. She lived about 3 minutes away.
This sounds terrible. This is getting worse and worse
and worse.
But I would always feed you.
She would feed me.
He always had a meal ready.
Oh man, listen.
I said, women, you got to feed him.
And she would give me money. She worked at Lane Bryant. I'm like, this girl's a senior in high school working at the mall. I'm like, and then again, when we would talk, we had chemistry.
We did.
She just wasn't my preference. And I got a lot of friends that are single right now. Yep. They're divorced, single. They want exotic.
Right.
I'm like, some of y'all need to get you an auntie.
That's right. That can make
That's a whole different conversation. So my wife's like,
She cooked for him. She gave her money, gave him her money. He said it, purpose over preference. Though I did a video last week. I did a video literally a week ago talking about this. A man literally got on here and said he likes an IG baddie that's light skinned with curly hair and he cannot afford them. And so because he can't afford those women, he is going to go for women that are not his preference. He couldn't afford dealing with them skinny Latinas with big breasts and long hair, because he was probably one of many other men competing with him. So once he was dogging them, like they pretty much stated like that he was doing, they're like, I got other men that want me anyway, so who cares? They went on to someone else. She most likely didn't have anyone checking for her, I'm assuming. She's very attractive. Honestly, she's a very attractive woman. I think that she looks very good for her age. I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she should be doing a lot better than this man, and that her self-esteem should be a way, way higher than what it is. Way, way higher. Yeah. Purpose over preference. Yeah. I would marry her too. If she gave me her paychecks. Yeah.
Baby, what is that supposed to mean? You said I'm auntie. I said, baby, you're auntie.
That's all right. It's okay.
I said, you used to be exotic.
I used to be.
But you a grandma now.
I'm 52.
Even the other day I told her, I said, you auntie exotic.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take it.
So even though you say that she's not your preference, clearly you're attracted to your wife.
Absolutely.
Of course.
What are you attracted to?
First of all, she's beautiful. You know, I love her brains, her mind. I'm attracted. That's the first thing I was attracted to. But then I had to pivot because she said it earlier. I was used to, heavier chest meat, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Heavier chest meat.
Yeah. And then smaller in the other areas. Yeah. So I had to really pivot. You know what I'm saying?
To the opposite.
Yeah, to the opposite. And I made the adjustment. And I have for almost 35 years now.
Have you ever apologized to her for all the stuff you took her through?
Absolutely.
What was that moment like?
Man, I'll never forget. After I found out I wasn't going to prison, I got probation.
For 4 years.
For 4 years.
Which was the best thing, because you had to stop smoking weed, couldn't drink.
And the judge even said, if you run a stop sign during these 4 years, he said, if you flunk one drug test, I'm putting you in prison for 4 years. And so I got set free that day. Yeah. John 8:32 says, and they'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And so a couple of months later, she was leading worship at my dad's church on Saturday morning practice, and the Lord instructed me to get a bucket of water and wash her feet and repent to her for what I put her through.
That's beautiful.
And he did.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I've never ever from that day ever washed another person's feet in my life, except my own.
The reason why he's not siphoning her energy is because he is not there as often. He travels a lot to go to different ministries. That is the reason that he is not siphoning her energy. They don't spend enough time with each other. That's the reason why I said that's a big part of the reason why she looks good and why their union has been able to last so long. That is the one thing that is saving this marriage. He is not there often.
So in that moment, how did you feel getting that moment of reconciliation?
Honestly, I didn't want him to do that because I love him so much. I didn't feel
worthy.
No, I don't know if you've had that happen to you, but it's a very humbling experience. Exactly. To wash your feet, and it made me uncomfortable. But of course, we cried together and hugged together, and of course, I received it and loved him. But I was uncomfortable with it because you don't have to do that for me to, accept your forgiveness.
Do you realize why God allowed him and instructed him to do that?
I do now.
Why?
Because he had to it was a way of saying thank you and just humility, the humility of it.
That word, humility. When
he's traveling and he probably letting her spend everything it is that she wants. She's a reformed Shira at this point. she's reformed. She is one of the very few people that took a dusty and was Barb the Builder. And now he's like, lady, shut up. Because just think about it. She already was tolerating him cheating at the beginning. So I'm sure she's okay with him. I'm sure she's okay tolerating him cheating now. He's just paying for everything. He's just making sure she don't have to struggle. He's just making sure that she is kept and put away at this point. So she is able to chill and she is able to relax. However, I hope that they get a lot of money from this. Honestly, I really do hope that their book sells. I really do hope that people come to their ministry because she was definitely this was 100% a humiliation tactic. It definitely was a humiliation ritual at her expense for them to be able to garner money, for them to be able to garner attention, for them to be able to make money. I'm very cognizant of that. But yeah, I at least hope that for her to lay all this out on the table and humiliate herself, I hope she's getting something from it. That's just me speaking kindly.
Jesus modeled that in the Bible. It was the greatest show of humility. Here's this leader. Here's this savior of the world that says, I can humble myself to wash your feet. That's what masculinity truly is. That's what husbandry really is. It's to literally walk in humility. And so often as men, we believe that our wives are supposed to serve us and wait on us hand and feet and kiss our dirty feet and all that, instead of saying it's supposed to be the opposite. The greatest leader is the greatest servant. And so he had to.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted now. Shira is working, okay? Shira be working hard. Shira be working hard as hell. Don't be fooled. I get on TikTok, she be live on TikTok. I get on YouTube, she be live on YouTube. Always writing a book. Shira be working, baby. Shira works her fucking ass off. Shira was a mortician. Then James paid for her to go to culinary school. Don't get it twisted. Shira is working. It's just she ain't clocking in for the man. Yeah, Shira talks nonstop. Because Shira, she working for herself. Shira is doing it for herself. Shira don't got to work, but Shira ain't going to be able to not work and maintain the lifestyle that she created for herself. That's the difference. When you decide that you are not going to work, your lifestyle is at the level of a man's lifestyle. Always remember that. So you cannot work, but you ain't going to go on no vacation. You ain't going to be able to get your nails done. You ain't going to be able to get your hair done with the average man's salary. James does not make enough for Shira to be riding in her Porsche and for their two daughters to go to for them to go to an Ivy League college or a very nice place for them to go, and for her to be able to go on vacations and do all of these things. She is working for her lifestyle. As soon as you decide I'm not going to work, a man gets to dictate your lifestyle. James is old, first of all. James probably ain't finna be. Yes, Shira out-earns the fuck out of James at this point. She out-earns the fuck out of James at this point. Shira don't care about what that man doing. She is in her bag. He probably retired at this point. No, we ain't gonna sit here and say, oh, well, she doesn't have to work. She can leave him and get child support and still be good, though. Girl, y'all. It's the low vibration. It's the low vibration for me. Ladies, we got to do better than this. We got to do better than this. We got to do better than child support and having that be our child support, having that be our cost of living. If Shira felt like she could make more money off of child support in a divorce, she would have did it herself already. She would have did it herself already. We got to think, ladies, we have so much work to do. Every day, I'm not going to lie, the channel is growing. All right, the channel is growing. I'm getting more people over here. I'm getting more, sovereign sisters over here. Sometimes I understand why Princella decides, like, you know what, I'm going to kind of change my content up to hold these women accountable, because the way some of y'all think is so fucking low vibrational. The way some of y'all think is so weak-minded. And then y'all will, and then the thing about it is that y'all will sit here and say, fuck men, fuck men, fuck men, but then want to be begging a man to give you child support. be begging a man to want to give you money for a divorce. The average man makes $65,000. James was really only a baller when he first got with Shira, like early on in their marriage. She completely is out earning him. Because at the end of the day, Shira won a lifestyle for herself and for her daughters. That is her thing. And no, she did not start her channel. I don't think she started her channel after Kevin Samuels did. She's had her channel for 10 years. She actually had the spiritual channel first. Then she started Sprinkle Sprinkle. She had her channel long before Kevin Samuels. She had her channel long before Kevin Samuels. Way before Kevin Samuels. We need more media literacy. Exactly. She's had it since 2013. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Don't be getting in my comments not knowing what you're talking about. The Sovereign Sister's going to check y'all with facts. With facts. With facts. Yeah, she's been on YouTube for a long time. Y'all need to practice more media literacy. Exactly. I was watching Shira in my early 20s. I'm 31 now. Wow. Exactly. No. At the end of the day, she know what she doing. That woman know what she doing, and she's working. She's working. She is. She didn't always have to work. And guess what she was doing? She used the money that he gave her. She used the time that she had by not having to go to work and decided that I'm going to work for myself and make more than what a boss would ever try to pay me. Point blank, period. She just has a lot. She just has a lot more. Facts. It's better to stay and get his pension and SS when he's gone. Exactly. Only a dumb person would divorce. Only a dumb person would divorce just to get child support. Her children, her daughters, I think her daughters are in her teens. I think her daughters are in their teens. Mm-mm.
Do that in order for him to walk into what he's walking in now. Because had he not did that, this wouldn't be.
Right.
Your heart wouldn't be healed. Your marriage wouldn't be healed. Your marriage wouldn't be restored. The fruit that's coming from this marriage, building this ministry, wouldn't be, because he'll still be walking in pride.
Right.
And he had to walk in humility in order to manifest everything that's coming.
Oh, okay, I'm done. I don't want to review this anymore. It's pretty much done anyway. We got the gist of it. We need to sage one more time. We do. We need to sage one more time. We got to sage one more time because ciao. I have a little bit of sage on this stick still. I don't want to bring a big old thing of smudge. There we go. Yeah. I got a lot of things in the back. I just got here to Florida and I talked about it yesterday on the spiritual channel. I'm just waiting for some, I have to reorder some new things. I have to get some new things because I tend to lose things in between me moving. So it's a lot of things that I have to get. And then once I get those things, and we'll start doing some magic. We'll start doing some work over on the spiritual channel. We are doing we're going to do a stream on the spiritual channel. When do I have that scheduled for? I think I have it scheduled for 2:00. Think I have it scheduled for 2:00. Let me look. Oh shit, I have it scheduled for 1:30. I do. I have it scheduled for 1:30. So over on the spiritual channel, I'm at the Mystic Sovereign. Okay, so that is my spiritual channel. If you want to talk about the spiritual things. I really don't plan my content in ahead, because usually I wake up or I see something that makes me want to talk about something. Y'all know we talk about DL men a lot here on the channel. And on YouTube, I love Hollywood. I love Hollywood. Also, when it comes to low vibration for your location, Everyone is different. Okay. Look into your astrocartography. What's low vibrational for you may not be low vibrational for the next person. My astrocartography, my astrocartography sits literally this fucking close to Miami. This fucking close. I think it's my MC line. Go into astrocartography. You can get a reading. You can get a reading for astrocartography, and you can ask, where should I go for a career? Where should I go for love? Where should I go for this, that, and the other? Then you will know exactly what place you can go to based off of what it is that you seek. Based off of what it is that you seek. It's different for everybody. And also you have to remember too, it's different off of where you are in that season of life. In 2023, I was very, very happy in New York City. I went back in 2024. And when I went back in 2024, it was terrible. But my energy, my vibration was so different. It was so different. So even when you have a different energy, when you're at a different vibration, you might outgrow the place that you had been having good energy at. This is why I always move around. It just makes more sense. It just makes more sense for me to go where my energy aligns. I live in Colorado and it's beautiful, but I have a sun line and Venus line in New Orleans and get treated like an empress. See, I love that for you. So we talk about the DL men a lot over here, and I don't tend to plan any of my content. And I love Hollywood. I love Hollywood because Hollywood is the home of the occult. Hollywood is the home of everything esoteric. And there's a lot of symbolism in Hollywood. There is a lot of ritualism in Hollywood. And it's always been fascinating to me. And at a very young age, my mother was always able to tell who was able to rise to fame in Hollywood through, like, pretty much most of them, the very high level people. They are there through rituals. They are there through sacrifice. They are there through like the highest level of the occult that you could possibly think of. And my mom was real good at knowing what celebrities were tied to certain times of occult. And I was watching a video today about Trey Songz. Now, mind you, all of this is alleged. Okay, all of this is alleged. Don't go for me. Don't come for me. But we seen what's happening with the diddler. Okay, we see what's happening with the diddler, and Trey Songz is definitely going to be next. He is. Trey Songz is definitely going to be next. They've been coming after Trey Songz hard. And so essentially, I really did not realize all of the destruction that Trey Songz was doing when he was in his career. I did not realize that I guess I would say alleged, but like he really did get charged. Like he has a ton of lawsuits and things like that. I did not know that he had an officer. He gave an officer a concussion. According to astrology transits, Jay-Z will be next in 2027. I believe it. I do. I totally believe it. But essentially, I did not realize like how much destruction he was doing. And his tie is very, very close with Diddy. And when I mean by tie, I mean parallels in how they were able to gain fame. A video popped up. It was Cher's video, because my mind started going, and I was like talking about the mysticism and all of the occult things that come along with these artists when they're able to gain a lot of fame. It was a video of Cher's. I don't know if it came from her Sprinkle channel or from her Ashira the Goddess channel. Do not know which channel it came from, but she was talking about Ye. And she was talking about how Ye brought up John Legend. And he said, well, yeah, John Legend, he's a vegetable. He's a potato. That's what he said. He said he's a mashed potato. And one thing I love about Shira is like she breaks down the symbolism really, really good, because that's how my brain thinks. I'm always thinking of symbolism based upon what they're talking about. Yes, exactly. Yep. So when he called them a root vegetable, the average person would be like, well, what the fuck are they? What are they talking about? A mashed potato? It's a root vegetable, right? When you pull it out, a root comes out. Root is in regard to the root chakra. The root chakra is where the anus is. Yeah, it's a Shira Star Goddess. That's where the anus is. A lot of these men, a lot of them, especially when they are in Hollywood, they are pretty much humiliated. It's through a ritual where they have to have their root chakra be invaded. So that's what we're going to talk about on the spiritual channel today. And kind of how this manifests for them. J-Lo needs to stop seeing her practitioner because I'm tired of her. Trey is deaf next. He's beyond freaky. Trey was also quoted to be sitting on Diddy's lap I believe it. I completely believe it. So yeah, I really just want to, usually what I do is that whatever we talk about here on the main channel, I kind of get I try to do a translation spiritually over on the spiritual channel. That way you can get more clarity on a deeper level as to how things are happening, why things are happening, energetically. Because DL men, they're very entity bound. Honestly, DL men are very, very entity bound, and you see this manifest physically, with their outbursts, even with their appearance, even with how they look. You are actually able to see this. This is the reason why y'all are like, you were right. How do you know? How are you able to know that these are DL men? Yeah, it's very obvious once you pick up on their spirit. Once you pick up the fact that they are attached to entities, it's very, very easy to tell. A lot of y'all bring up Nick Cannon a lot. I'm really shocked. This is what I'm always shocked about. It's alleged from me, because I don't know if anyone ever had these allegations or ever brought up these allegations, but a lot of people bring up Nick Cannon because Nick Cannon has a lot of baby mothers and things like that. Y'all got to remember, Nick Cannon, he was on All That. He had his own, he got his own show. He got his own show on Nick. We already seen all of those things come out with, is it Dan Schneider? I want to make sure I'm saying the right name. Y'all know that I'm really bad with names. Okay. I know it's a Schneider, but the Nick cast, a lot of them were exposing him as being very predatory, as being, doing a lot of things that were very PDF file-esque. That man did not get those shows for free. Whenever you see a celebrity, they rise to fame very quickly. Okay, so I was right. It is Dan Schneider. When they rise to fame very, very quickly, you have to buy in. You have to buy in a certain way. And in Hollywood, they do this in a multitude of ways. I'm done here. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. I have the link to my spirit. Let me go on ahead and drop the link in the comments. Let me drop the link to the spiritual channel in the comments, so that way we could talk about it over there. But yeah, please don't forget, like, subscribe. I have my Patreon where I talk about dark manipulation, dark femininity, how to learn to play the game so you don't get played. Talk about all of that on the Patreon. I also have one-on-one consultations. I have all the information in my link tree on this, so yeah, I will see you all over on the other channel. For astrocartographer, you can look on Etsy, go for the highest ranked person on Etsy. They have a revolving door. They have a revolving door of like different readers, astrocartography. I don't remember. But you can find them on Etsy. Just make sure you read the reviews. Make sure you read the reviews and have some understanding of like your MC line, your IC line. Have a little bit of understanding before you pay for the reading. That's what I like to do. That way I can go in with some understanding. You know what I mean? That way it'll make a little bit more sense to you. You also can find out what all that stuff means on TikTok. It's a ton of different things on TikTok for you to know. But and yes, Chat GPT will do it. You just got to be very careful with Chat GPT. Okay. If you don't prompt it right and if you don't understand what the lines mean, sometimes it's not that accurate. But y'all, I'm going to get off of here. I will see you over either next time here if you just watch this channel. And if you're going to visit me on the other channel, I will see y'all over there. Happy Easter. Bye.